happened is that after the late afternoon ruling at the Milimani High Court, family section, I walked down through Uhuru Park to that parking lot next to Lake Regency with my eldest brother, Samuel. My brother, if you will, is a monumental bore, a total useless and helpless being. His presence in the court had added no social or emotional value to my predicament. And now, walking with him through Uhuru Park, I regarded him in his green coat that had seen better days and an oversized gray trouser. One would have easily thought that he was my plumber or gardener. I have never felt so contemptuous of a human being.
Albert Camus tells us that the purpose of a writer is to prevent civilization from destroying itself. Sidney Sheldon told us that a blank piece of paper is God's way of showing you how hard it is to be God. Wahome Mutahi spoke of neither being too clever nor too foolish. Tori Muchama told us about the road to Eldoret. Aikwe Arma told us that the beautiful ones are not yet born. But the one that really gets my goat is the Banlo Leong, who accused East Africa of being a literary desert. So I said, okay, fine. How do we reverse this literary desert that we supposedly live in? Simple. Get the best writers in town and lubricate them with the best beer in town. Craft beer. In the process, you make the writers a little tipsy and you get them to open up about what inspires them, about why they write, what they write about, and what the future holds for literature in East Africa and around the world. So I hope you'll join me from home and enjoy this journey with us. Welcome to Tipsy Writers.
Hey man, how are you? How's the day?
Not bad.
Yeah.
How was your day?
Tough man.
Yeah. What is that?
Traffic, the sun.
You need something cold.
Yeah,
What
very
will it
cold,
be?
eh?
What will it be?
Can I have like a 2-liter growler of Amalua?
Here is the growler. A good choice, by the way.
Okay.
After a hard day on the road. And by the way,
Yeah.
you know this thing is brewed here.
Oh, right here?
Yeah, we brew it here.
Crafted here, okay.
We brew it here.
All right.
Have a bit. I'll add for you by that. What does it?
I love it.
What does it evoke?
It tastes like some good ale. Love the mild feeling it has.
Absolutely fresh.
Sounds like a good afternoon beer. Yeah.
Is it something you drink as you
Yeah.
write your book?
I like ales, yeah.
How do you write your books, by the way?
I do like one long sitting. Like I love a chapter. Like for this book, it has like 5 chapters. So each chapter was written under like one sitting.
I see.
So it's more or less like some stream of consciousness. Like I sit down and just pour everything on the page, and then I start cleaning it up after.
Let's start at the beginning.
Sure.
Okay?
Sure.
Your trajectory from a young man to the first time you picked up your pen,
Yeah.
or your keyboard, whatever it was. Hebu tuambie.
I was born here in Nairobi, in Kibera, around the DC area.
Yeah.
I grew up there up to around the age of 6 or 7. Then I lost my dad. Then we moved to the village where I started my schooling. I schooled there from a primary school and secondary school. And then I joined the University of Nairobi, where I did my Bachelor of Arts in literature. I did a double major in literature and communication. I really wanted to write. And you know, when we were young, we used to see like the Omemtai byline, the Yungapalas of this world, and my biggest dream was like to see my byline in a newspaper.
Yeah.
So I sort of like worked hard to find myself in that space. So immediately, as soon as I finished high school, I came to Nairobi, and then that's around 2006. Went for some computer packages, and I started going to the cyber and just typing and sending stories to the newspapers. Good enough back then, there was enough space for freelancers, and
Yes.
that's how I got like my first big break. And then Road Orengat Nation, I sent a column there, and by some accident it ended up being a mantle column. I don't know whether Yunga Pala was out of town, or I don't know what happened. It was just something that I just sent like as a letter to an editor, or just to make a column caller, by the way. And then just like a joke, I'm checking the newspaper and I'm like,
There you are.
it's the man talk. Yeah, so that was like now how I came to be.
You got the man talk. You know, I really want
That was like the first major column that I wrote.
You started out at the top, my friend.
Yeah.
Without much ado,
Yeah.
I want to jump into this.
Sure.
So, Sexorcised. It's a very radical book.
Yeah.
It's very bold. But what inspired the book? Like, why did you sit down and write this story?
The book started as in a very fun way. So I'm teaching a creative writing class at the Creatives Garage. So we get to a point where I'm teaching them how to write a good introduction. I was trying to think up of examples that how can you shock your reader.
Yes.
So obviously when I was going home and trying to think about the lesson for the following day, I had that introduction in my head. The first time I fucked Maureen Mwakazi was the night after the court finalized the divorce with my wife of 13 years. It was the best sex in like 5 years. I lasted longer than any 41-year-old man, let alone a stressed 41-year-old man would. That night, I did things that I last did in college and I thought were impossible in my increasingly arthritic self. It felt good. So that's like the intro that I had.
Yes.
And obviously I couldn't basically use it in class.
Yes.
And I felt like with this introduction, maybe I can write a small short story. I wanted to like be like a one-night stand. You meet a woman in a club and you go home, you chips funga, and then I realized that I'm not very good with erotica. Like I can do that. And then basically that was like the origin of the book. And then now I had to start answering, who's this Maureen Mwakazi? And why is this man being divorced? So that was the seed for the novel. I didn't know absolutely where the story would take me. So when I tried to answer now, why is this man being divorced? I remember I ran into a friend of mine, is a DO, what you normally call now, county commissioners. So he was telling me about this custody case, was handling about, I don't know, a pilot and an engineer. Fighting over the custody of a child, and this woman was playing both for child upkeep. So I felt like, okay, that can be some grounds for divorce. I've never been formally married. I've been in a long-term relationship, but I've never been formally married. So, like the book was purely fictional. There's nothing in the book.
It's not based on anybody you know?
No, maybe some small bits about the different people that I've interacted with over a period of time. But
it's a composite of characters.
It's a composite of different characters. Traditionally, if you look around, men used to marry primarily to have access to regular sex, and women used to marry so that they can have access to material wealth for their kids. You know, those were like the main reasons why people married. But look at the world right now. Women have their money, and men can have regular sex. Like you really don't have to be married. People really don't have a good incentive for marriage. So even when a woman gets married, she gets in, and when most of them they feel like, there's nothing I'm getting out of this marriage, they just walk away. And now men are slowly now withdrawing because also they know, like, if I marry, chances of me losing out on property, on kids, on the wife are very high. So that's why you see like men are now drifting apart, and you know, we have this playboy culture, you know, all that.
Now, your book.
Yeah.
The other theme, other than divorce, is tribalism.
Yeah.
It's quite intense.
If you come from Western Kenya, you're Luo, you're Luya, you're Kisii. there's a specific aversion they have towards marrying from central Kenya.
Yes.
And for those of us who understand, such marriages are likely to collapse because of cultural differences.
Right.
Not because like there's something fundamental wrong with Kikuyu women or fundamental wrong with our men.
Right.
And we tend to focus more on the intertribal marriages that fail than the intra-marriages that also fail. And I write about relationships and all that.
Yeah.
The more I talk to people, the more I realize like tribe plays the least significant factor when, for example, marriage is going to break down.
Right.
So the whole idea, actually, that's one of the portions of the book that is actually based on real things that I've seen.
Let's be real.
Yeah.
There's a lot of heartbreak in the book. There
Yeah.
was no memories that were evoked as you were writing the book.
The most painful part of the book is the second chapter, which is basically a flashback.
Right.
Because we start the book with this man has been divorced,
Right.
but we have to go back now and do a background of how the divorce came about.
Right.
So the second chapter is trying to address how the marriage broke down. And I go into extra lengths to show how sometimes you just forget the basics.
Right.
You stop having dinner with your family.
Right.
You get too busy with making money,
Yeah.
and how much is enough,
How much money is enough?
And then the wife again starts also
She starts chasing her
her own money and career and everything.
Right.
So you drift apart.
Right.
So for me, that was like the most consequential part of the book.
Right.
Because now everything is going on until our character is a naive man who's confident in his abilities.
That's what I found very interesting.
Yeah.
He is both street smart, quite brilliant,
Yeah.
and at the same time very naive.
That's the
He
story
can't
of
see
our
what's
life.
happening in front of his.
All men, my generation, that's us, like all of us, all men who have been divorced.
Yeah.
These things, they just erupt on them like this,
I think it's hubris.
It's just, hubris,
like-
exactly, that's the word, The whole idea of the book was just to bring these things to the surface.
Right.
Like female infidelity is just as common as male infidelity.
And let's
That
wake up.
sometimes a marriage can just end, and sometimes it's not even about you, the man. Women sometimes reserve the right to change their mind. It happens. And that's why I don't necessarily pass any judgment on Lucy
I noticed.
and the choices she made about her life completely.
Yeah.
And even her death at the end of the book, that was like a last minute change of the plot because of another story that I had, and I felt like. So her dying had more to do with Kituku losing his property than even her death itself.
Right.
So the whole idea was like, these things happen, and when they happen, how do you deal with them?
Silas, my colleague is here. Right? He's the master brewer around here. So Bob.
Yes. This is called a growler.
Yes.
The growler is what we serve our beer out for. We don't use pitchers, we don't use any other stuff.
Right.
And we do it directly from tap.
Right.
And when you use this, we know it can be kept cleanly inside. We have different beers in here, which we've crafted from here.
Right.
From a microbrewery,
Right.
which is fully automated.
You have a microbrewery here.
Here.
Okay.
Fully automated,
Right.
and it's the first in the world.
Watcha.
The first in the world.
Okay.
Yes. And I'm the first brewmaster on it in the world.
Right. Okay.
And
Continue. Tell me more.
that makes our beer an idea.
Right.
But our
Right.
secret in our beer
Right.
is we make our own water. The idea is this, yeah? Our beer, you not get hangover,
Okay.
no bloating, weight gain, no.
Okay.
We are not using sugar product.
Oh, zero sugar.
Zero.
That's why there's no hangover.
There's no hangover.
Yeah.
We have actually named our beers from scratch. Shika Lager. Shika Lager. If you're told Amalua, Amalua is a name coined from a Luya word. Amalua. Amalua. Yes.
Ah, I see.
Hewa Pilsen. Hewa Pilsen.